Come on, guess who's back, y'all? Come on. This is so great. This is so fun. I'm loving being up here at our South Campus. I haven't been back here since, I think, December. And so when I was out there, I said, guess who's back? Back again. Phil is back. Tell a friend. Anyways, it's good to be here tonight. If you don't know who I am, my name is Phil, and I have the privilege of being the young adults pastor. So every Thursday at our downtown campus at 7:30, if you're between 18 to 30 or you still think you are, that's for you. Come on. Now listen, you got to laugh, y'all. Listen, I need some interaction when I preach. I know you're with me in spirit and in truth. I need you to be with me in like word and shouting. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Need you to be with me. Hey, can we do this? Everybody at South Hill, can we just extend a welcome and a shout out to everybody that's downtown right now? Come on. Downtown campus, shout out to our cafe team who always makes me an oat milk latte on Saturday nights and Sunday mornings. Pastor Dave and Renee, I am up here tonight, but I'm excited to be back down there tomorrow morning. It's good to have everybody here watching online as well. And if I could only imagine, our pastors are probably watching right now. And so maybe if you're new here or maybe it's one of your first few times, our pastors Roger and Tina are getting some much needed R&R. And so wherever they're at, if they're watching, we're glad that you are resting right now, and they'll be back next weekend. But for tonight, y'all got me, and so I'm ready. I'm really stirred. God is doing a lot of things in our church. But he's also doing something in me, right? God doesn't just do things corporately. He does things individually as well, right? God's stirring some of you. We got to listen to one of our key support staff members today. Shout out to Brian. Where's he at? Is he here? Yeah. Shout out to Brian who was here. He was preaching in our pre-service prayer, and he was not just talking about what God is doing in our church, but he was talking about what God was doing inside of him. And so I just want you to know I preach fast. I preach with passion. If you only knew what I went through a year ago, you would understand why I'm preaching the way I preach, why I live the way I live, why I worship the way I worship. And here's what you have to understand tonight is God didn't just save you from something, right? He saved you for something, right? He saved you for something. And so, listen, I know it may not be your natural tendency in church to kind of shout or maybe to applaud or to say something back, but I got to tell you something tonight. God has done something in my life over the last 18 years, and so what I can't do is be quiet about it. Y'all know what I'm talking? I just can't be quiet about it. I got to let people know about it, and so you just happen to be the ones on the receiving end tonight. Crazy thing is I haven't even begun to preach my message yet. This is who I am. You know, I tell people this. I'm the same guy off the platform that I am on. What you see is what you get, and so you got to just pray for my wife. Because she is a little white girl from Puyallup, Washington, Rogers High School. And when I preached back in December, last time I was literally here at our South Hill campus, it was back in December, I forgot to show a picture of my family. Now, that's okay if you preached one weekend, but when you went back-to-back weekends, and the second weekend I didn't get to. So those are my stimulus credits right there. Can I get an amen? North Campus, can I get an amen? Online, can I get an amen? God bless my children in this season. Not because of God's blessing, but because of what they are worth to me and to the government. They are worth a lot to me. But I tell you what, when you can see it in your bank account, come on, parents. How many of you parents in the house, you spent your life just paying for your kids, and then finally, they pay you back? Sometimes we got to wait till they're 27 years old and they realize how much we did for them. Can I get an amen? Hey, all the people that are like 40 and 50 are like, you keep preaching that right now. You can, and they're probably, y'all are probably thinking, is he going to preach this tomorrow morning? Because I'm going to tell my 26-year-old son, my 20-year-old daughter to be watching this. But that's my wife right there. And we've been married for 12 years, and just the joy of my life. And I really mean this with all of my heart. No one in my life has been more compassionate and patient and gracious to me and kind to me and has forgiven me as much as that woman right there. And she is a product of Puyallup, Washington, y'all. And so she's home with the babies right now, and she's actually writing a cookbook. It's called the Cook and Clean Project. And I remember I took this picture, and I said, my God, I said, you look like you're 21 years old, but she's 35. Y'all know it's okay if I say that if she's not here. Y'all know what I'm talking about? It's okay if I say that, but her name's Jenna, and it's just been amazing to be married to her and to have our 3 babies. I kid, I joke. They're not my stimulus credits, but they're more like my tax credits because they've had that more often. I'm just kidding. I want to preach a message tonight, if you're taking notes, entitled The Queen's Gambit. I want to preach a message entitled The Queen's Gambit. Probably much of us have watched a lot of TV over the last year. We watched maybe a lot of Netflix, a lot of Hulu. Maybe you've gotten into puzzles. I remember Roger was talking about that a week ago or so, and talking about puzzles. You got into different things, and so I was binge watching a couple of shows, and I stumbled on this show called The Queen's Gambit, and it's great. It's 8 episodes. Y'all know what I'm talking about? It's like when you open up a book and it's 8 chapters. You're like, thank God, right? Because I can't be reading no book that's like no novel that's like 500 pages, right? I can't do that. But you give me 8 episodes, 45 minutes an episode, I'm good to go. And I was just so fascinated. You know, I don't play chess. I play checkers. Anybody else play checkers out there, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Come on, shout out to checkers, right? Because chess is too hard for me, right? And at my age, I don't want to be learning new stuff, right? I just kind of want to get better at what I already know. Y'all know what I'm talking about? So I don't. But after watching that, guess what? I still don't want to play chess. I still don't want to, but it was, I was just so fascinating, and it wasn't a true story. I thought it was a true story, but the strategy and the practice and moves and counter moves, and I just got to thinking when I was preparing for this message. As a matter of fact, I got to be honest with you, I didn't have a title for this message until about 7 hours ago, because I couldn't wrap my mind around what I wanted to title this message. And then I thought about the strategy of chess and figuring out what your opponent's going to do, but then also playing your game and not just playing to what your opponent is going to do. And I thought, man, you know, Easter was last weekend, huh? Come on, somebody. Easter was last weekend, and Encounter was 2 weeks ago. And I feel that God is doing His job. The question is, are we doing ours? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Like, God is moving, right? God is moving the chess pieces around. The question is, are we moving with Him? Are we moving step in step with God, right? If He's stirring up people around us, then He should be stirring us up as well. And it's not a matter, you know, sometimes I used to say, like, God, I need you to speak. And as I got older in ministry, what I realized, it wasn't God not speaking, it was Phil not listening. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Because a lot of the times when we pray, it ends up being a monologue. You're talking to God and you don't let Him speak back. And so it's not the fact that God is not moving. The question is, are we moving? And in which direction are we moving? Are we moving a step closer to Him? And so I wanted to unpack this message tonight on the heels of Easter, right, of what God did last weekend, on what God did 2 weeks ago, and quite frankly, at our downtown campus, and everyone watching online, really what God is doing in our church over the last 6 to 8 months is pretty radical. As a matter of fact, I was on the phone today. You're going to love this down in our downtown campus. I was on the phone today with Pastor Bonney Perez. Pastor Bonney Perez spoke on the Sunday night of Encounter, and he just called me, and he said, Phil, he said, you guys got something special up there right now. He says, you have momentum for the Lord. He says, you need to keep that momentum going. So listen, people are recognizing it. A man who's been in revivals is recognizing we're in the middle of something, y'all. Like our church, no, come on, somebody. Like we're in the middle of something in Puyallup, Washington at Motion Church. 23 years into this, baby. God is still moving. He's still active. He's still alive. He's still speaking. He's still empowering. He's still doing something brand new, even 23 years later. Can I get an amen? Downtown, give me an amen. And so but here's what I don't want to do. Here's what I don't want to do as a Christian. I don't want to live event to event, because there's so many more days in between the event to the event. Y'all know what I'm talking about. My faith is not based or wrapped around. I was preaching to our young adults a couple of weeks ago, and I said, Encounter was great. Encounter was amazing. Encounter was last week. What is God doing today? What is God going to do tomorrow, right? Because I can't just live off of Encounter, because every day God is waking me up to maybe talk to somebody, to maybe impact somebody, to maybe give you a little bit of my passion. Maybe tonight you came in here and you kind of came in here maybe limping, maybe not physically, but maybe spiritually. And then you're like, man, is this guy going to talk like this the whole time? Yeah, that brother hasn't even breathed yet. I'm not going to talk like this the whole time, but I'm just telling you, Jeremiah the prophet, he said, God, your word is like a fire shut up in my bones. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Like it's like a fire shut up in my bones. Like I don't know about you, but I was made for this. I was made for this, and so I can't contain it. Whatever you're made for, you can't contain. It'll come out of you eventually, right? Even if it has to, listen, even some of you that have taken the long way around, it'll come out eventually. So I wanted to bring attention and highlight what I feel like maybe is a missing ingredient maybe in our life, and it's a simple word. You've heard it over and over, but maybe I'm going to unpack it in a different way. It's called discipleship. I want to talk about discipleship tonight because I feel like it's a missing ingredient. Imagine this. Think about the everyday things that you and I do that maybe we don't think about it until we were missing one of those ingredients. Like I want you to think about this. Imagine brushing your teeth. You had no toothpaste. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Be a little odd. Now some of us are like, I've been there, done that. Right? How many of you know, like when you went on a camp, you went on a retreat, you forgot your toothpaste, and you didn't even have a brush. All you had was this finger. Stop me when I'm lying. Anybody ever brush their, come on, any brave people? You ever brush your teeth with your finger? Y'all know what I'm talking about? But you had a missing ingredient, and you noticed it, right? Check this out. What if you had coffee and had no caffeine in it? Look at you, somebody's staring at me right now. You know who you are. I ordered a coffee today, and I said, let me get a coffee, but no caffeine. Exactly. That's what people were, they were just judging me. So I'm just going to tell you tonight, I won't judge you if you don't judge me. I didn't have any caffeine, but how many of you notice when there's no caffeine in your coffee? Anybody try to drive a car with no gas? Missing ingredient. Let me tell you something. Listen, let me tell you something about your faith. Imagine having salvation without discipleship. I need you to think about that for a minute. I need you to think about having salvation without discipleship. I need you to think about something tonight. I need you to think about having church without discipleship. Listen, if you have salvation and you have church, you're still missing an ingredient. It's called growing deep in the Lord. It's called Christ formation. It's not about just attending a church. It's not about just showing up for Easter. It's not about just showing up for an encounter event. It's not just about serving. It's not just about giving. All of those matter, by the way. All of those are important. But do you have somebody in your life that is forming Christ in you? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Like this ain't a social club. Like this ain't the Elks Lodge. Y'all know what I'm talking about? This ain't that. This is the church of Jesus Christ. And Christ needs to be formed in you constantly. Not event to event, not church service to church service, but every single day submitting your life to the Lord and submitting your life to one another and having Jesus formed in you so that your life is Christ-centric. Has to be Christ-centric. So when I preached in December, I said I wanted to preach the 5 most dangerous words in the Bible. Today I want to preach what I would consider subjectively outside of Christ's crucifixion. I want to preach today what I would say would be the saddest 4 verses in all the Bible. I believe these are, in my opinion, these are the saddest 4 verses in the Bible. But what I want to do is I want this to be a learning lesson from us, because that's what the Bible is. The Bible is watching the lives of God's people and learning from them, taking really good notes, doing what they did, and then also not doing what they did. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I want you to open up your Bibles to the book of Judges chapter 2. Judges chapter 2. And here's what it says in verse 7 through 10. It's going to be up here on your screen. It says, after Joshua sent the people away, each of the tribes left to take their possessions of the land allotted to them. It says, and the Israelites, they served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and the leaders who outlived him, those who had seen all the great things that the Lord had done for Israel. It says, Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110. It says they buried him in the land that was allocated to him. Verse 10. It said, but after that, everybody say after that. No, come on, downtown, online, here at South Hill. Come on, say after that. So after Joshua had died, after Joshua had went away, I believe this is the saddest verse in all the Bible outside of the crucifixion. It says, after that generation had died, another generation grew up who did not acknowledge the Lord or remember the mighty things that he had done for Israel. Now, I need you to hear me tonight. My favorite character in all the Bible is Joshua. Outside of Moses and outside of Elijah and outside of Jesus, I can't think of another person where God did as much as he did through one person. I want you to look at Joshua's resume right here. I mean, Joshua, don't forget, in the book of Numbers was one of the 2 spies that came back and gave a good report. I don't know if you know this or not, but Joshua was Moses' right hand. After Moses had died, Joshua was the one that assumed the role of leader over Israel. Under Joshua's leadership, like Moses, Joshua instructs the people to cross the Jordan River. And not only do they cross it, but it parts, just like the Dead Sea or the Red Sea. And not only was that the case, but remember Jericho? Remember Jericho walked around the wall once a day for 6 days, 7 times on the 7th day? That was under Joshua's leadership that the walls of Jericho fell. And not to mention that the promise of Abraham in Genesis chapter 12 was fulfilled under Joshua's leadership. Come on, that's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of God's people looking and longing for this promise. Not to mention that Joshua's in a battle and he has this audacious prayer that the sun would stand still, and the sun stands still for a whole day. I mean, when you look at Joshua's resume, come on, y'all, like LinkedIn, y'all know what I'm talking about? Like, you look at his resume. I never look at resumes, by the way. I never do. Anybody I've ever hired, I never looked at their resume. You know why? Everyone's resume looks good. But I want to see the person face to face. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I want to see them face to face. Give me your resume. Tell me you graduated, you got a master's degree, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Everyone's resume is supposed to look good, just like your Instagram social media platforms. Y'all know what I'm talking about? But I want to see you face to face when I ask you questions about your strengths and your weaknesses. I want to ask you questions about why you're passionate about this job that you're about to have. I want to see your face when I talk about what is God doing in your life. What are the dreams that you have? How can I take you to your promised land? I want to see people. Joshua had a great resume. The only problem was this. All of the things he had done, he missed one thing. And that one thing was he did not raise up a successor. So let me just tell you something about your faith and mine. If it can happen to Joshua, it can happen to any one of us. That we can do all of the good things and all of the right things, but we can miss the most important thing. Y'all are too quiet. I'm going to say that again. You can do all of the good things and miss the most important things. I just gave you a list of a lot of good things, except for the fact that he did not raise up somebody to take his place. And then guess what happened? A whole generation suffered because he did not raise up somebody to lead the next generation. You want to talk about the next generation being valuable, being important? Let me tell you this. If you have kids in here in elementary school, which I do, I got a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Let me tell you something right now. The kids' pastors are not the pastors of your kids. You are the pastors of your children. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You are the pastors of your kids. You can't expect us to teach your kids a week's worth of scripture and a week's worth of God's faithfulness in 1 hour. You have to do that every single day and every single night. You got to pray with your babies. Pray for your babies. Love your spouse. Be faithful in your purity and your singleness. If you're a single parent, I'm telling you what, that's how we're going to pass the baton to the next generation. It's not going to be the church that's going to be responsible for your children. It's going to be you. You got to take ownership of your faith and of your children and of their children. I'm telling you, when you do that, here's what won't happen. What won't happen is a generation that will be raised up that will not know God nor the faithfulness of His presence and of His work. I've just committed, man, over the last several years. I don't want to do a lot of good things. I want to do the most important thing. I want to do the most important thing, and I believe this. And Roger kind of alluded to this, and he had preached on this actually when in the Go series when he talked about make disciples. Let me tell you what I lament and I repent for in the first 10 years of ministry. I've had to do this privately and I've had to do this publicly. One of the things I've had to repent for is I've been really good at building leaders. I've been really poor at making disciples. Y'all need to know there's a big difference. You can build leaders and not make disciples. And I've done really good at building leaders, and I've done a poor job of making disciples till about 6 years ago when I made the shift. And I made the turn because this passage of Scripture convicted me. And it caused me to change. And it caused me to shift in my leadership. Let me give you the definition of discipleship. Because I think sometimes we say church words and we don't give definitions. Not Roger. Roger's really good at it, but I think in the church at large, it's like we say discipleship and we say church and we give you these words, but we don't give you kind of maybe sometimes context. Here's my definition of discipleship. Discipleship is following the life and teaching of Jesus Christ in such a way that you become more like him. Very simple. Discipleship is following the life and teaching of Jesus Christ in such a way that you become more like him. Dallas Willard writes like this. He says, what matters is not the accomplishments you achieve. What matters is the person you become. If you know Dallas Willard, he's a Christian philosopher, wrote a couple of books, more than a couple, but The Great Omission and The Spirit of Disciplines, which are phenomenal books. What matters is not the accomplishments you achieve, but what matters is the person that you become. I remember I was sitting in our movement in Foursquare, which is a denomination. I remember I was sitting about 12 years ago in a district meeting with a bunch of pastors, and I remember they brought in an influential pastor from Seattle, and this guy was a really good Bible teacher, really good in his Christian apologetics, really good in his history and just the language, and I remember he said this comment, and I was kind of frustrated by it, but come on, let me just tell you, I want to live in the light. I want to live like real. I want to live like, if I'm not good at something, I want somebody to tell me so I can get better at it. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And I remember he said this. He goes this, a bunch of Foursquare pastors, right? I'm in the room, and there's a bunch of us. He says, you know what I love about Foursquare? This is what he said. You know what I love about the Foursquare church? He says, I love the fact that people get saved in the Foursquare church, and then they come to my church to get discipled. That's what he said. That's what he said. Because I mean, we like to clap and we like to sing, and don't get me wrong, I'm like jumping with the rest of them up here. And I love to shout, and I got Pentecostal in me, baby. You know what I'm talking? Like, I pray in the Spirit, and the gifts are active and alive. Like, God wants to empower you. Like, the prophetic is going to come out of you, and miracles are going to happen when you pray for. Like, I'm all about Pentecostalism. But when he said that, it convicted me. How could people get saved in the Foursquare movement, and yet we have a reputation that we don't disciple? Because it can't be either or. It has to be both and in the kingdom of God. You get saved. You give your life to Christ. You raise your hand at Easter. God transforms you at Encounter. And it does not stop there. There's so much more. There's so much more with God, and there's so much more in you. Christ has to be formed in you. That's what discipleship is. So my wife and I, we have to, spend a lot of time with our kids. I talk to my 6-year-old like she's 20. I do. And I get down on my knee. I talk to my 5-year-old the same way. My 5-year-old, she spilled my coffee the other day. I was so mad. Because then just earlier, she had spilled something else. And my wife, maybe I'm unpacking my marriage to you in front of the world to see. But my wife's like, no, it's just an accident. I'm like, no, when it happens 3 times in an hour, it's not an accident. It's who she is. She's clumsy. She'll never see this. It's okay. She's 5. But I had to get on my knee and I had to say, baby, I'm like, baby girl. I said, you have to pay attention. It's like, you have to pay attention. You have to see where you're going. You have to open up your eyes. Literally, I'm talking to her like she's crying. I'm like, let me get my point across and then you can cry. All the parents in the house say amen. Come on, I'm living a real life. But I take my time, and sometimes it's a lot of time, and sometimes I don't get it, and sometimes you're saying it again, and sometimes you're saying it again, and sometimes you're saying it again. Let me tell you something about my life, which should be the same thing about your life. Ministry will cost our time and our money, but I would rather it cost my time and my money than somebody's life. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? This thing, like following Jesus, it's going to cost your time. It's going to cost your money. I would rather it cost that than somebody's eternity. Let that sit in for a minute. But you got to take time. I want my baby girls to know the Lord and love the Lord. I also want them to be respectful and kind and generous and gracious. Just like good humans, not just good Christ followers. You know what I'm talking about? But it takes time. That's what discipleship is. I love Paul. He writes to 2 Timothy. Or he writes to Timothy in 2 Timothy, and he says this. He says, Timothy, my dear son, it's going to be on the screen. He says, be strong through the grace that God gives you in Christ Jesus. He says, you have heard me teach these things, and they've been confirmed by reliable witnesses. And I love this. He says, now teach these truths to other trustworthy people who will be able to pass them on to others. Listen, I'm not telling you to give good advice to people. I'm challenging you. Are you forming Christ in people? Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Like, we have a lot of small groups here at the church. Shout out to CCB in the house. We have a lot of groups, a lot of hiking groups and petting dog groups and, you know, running groups and devotional. We have just all these groups. But let me just tell you, we need those groups. Let me challenge you with something. Hopefully while you're hiking, before or after. Hopefully when you're petting dogs, maybe before or after. Or when you're having coffee or when you're playing volleyball. Hopefully it's not just recreation. Hopefully you're forming Christ in your recreation. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Because there's no point in small groups if Christ is not being formed. Then it's just recreation. Has nothing to do with church. Has nothing to do with Christianity. It's forming Christ. Jesus Christ, crucified, died, buried, rose again, coming back again for His church. That's discipleship. Have fun with people. Pet dogs. Go hiking. But form Christ. The person. The teachings. You see, you can teach what you know, but ultimately you'll reproduce who you are. You can teach what you know, but ultimately you'll reproduce who you are. Jesus took time. He took time. He didn't just take time with His disciples. He took time wherever He went. People often were stopping Him in the middle of Him doing something else. And here's what He knew. I'm guessing as I'm reading, as watching His life, and it's coming to life for me. He's having to do it time and time again because even the people that were in proximity with Him didn't understand it. They didn't get it. Not just His disciples. I mean, we can talk about them later, but I'm talking about people that were like following Him, experiencing the miracles, still did not recognize Him. I love Matthew chapter 16, verse 13 through 17. It says this. It says, when Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, He asked His disciples, who do men say that I am? Well, they said, some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. He says, yeah, but who do you say I am? Peter answers, he says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said to him, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. Now, Peter answered right, finally. But there were people around him that thought he was Elijah or he was John the Baptist. He was someone else. I mean, these are like Jews that like read the Torah and read of the coming Messiah. And here He is teaching and performing miracles. And yet they still don't think He is who He is. They mistake Him for something else. And you know what I realized? Here's what I realized. Is that they kept close enough to Jesus to experience His benefits, but stayed far enough away from Him where they didn't have to commit their life to Him. Oh, I'll stay close enough because I want the benefits of God. But I'm not going to get too close because I know it's going to cost me my life. So I'll just take the benefits. I'll take the healing. I'll take the financial provision. I'll take the community and relationships. But that's it. That's it. You see, what I want to challenge you is this, is that Christianity is not I prefer to and I prefer not to. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? I prefer to and I prefer. That's not Christ-centeredness. If you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. Jesus is the Lord of our life, not the Lord of our preferences. He's the Lord of our life, not the Lord of our preferences. Listen, when it comes to food, have preferences. I love Thai food. Anybody else? Shout out to Ayotthaya right here down the street. Y'all know, give me 5-star all day, every day. Y'all know what I'm saying? You can have preferences when it comes to your coffee. You want to wear what you want to wear. Oftentimes, our security team, shout out to our security team at the downtown campus, oftentimes they make fun of me because of the pants that I wear. It's okay. I'm not insecure. Kind of. Yeah, I am insecure. Thank you. But listen, you have preferences. You want to wear Bass Pro Shop. I want to wear tight jeans, whatever. Have your preferences when it comes to food. Have your preferences when it comes to TV shows. Have your preferences when it comes to clothes. But you cannot have a preference when it comes to the kingdom of God. When it comes to the Bible, when it comes to Christ crucified. You lose that right the minute you say yes to Jesus, because now it's no longer your life. Now it's His life. Now I'm crucified with Christ. It's no longer I that live. Come on, somebody. It's no longer I that live, but it's He who lives in me. He's not the God of your preferences. He's the God and Lord of your life. Preferences have created flexibility in our faith. They have. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 5, Paul writes this. He says, Timothy, there's some people that have a form of godliness, but they deny its power. You know what he says? Have nothing to do with these people. Are you kidding me? Have nothing to do with these people that have the form of Christianity, but deny its power. Whew. We got to be discipled. We got to grow down. I keep saying it. I feel like I'm a broken record on Thursdays. But we got to grow down before we grow up. I don't care what I look like on the outside. Who is Christ forming on the inside? The only reason why you're listening to me is not because of what I'm wearing. It's because what Christ has done inside of me. That's the only reason why you're listening to me. It's the only reason why people come up to me and they're like, when you speak, there's just something that happens to me. I'm like, yeah, because something is happening inside of me. And I can't contain it. Irrespective of circumstance. You're going through something. I've gone through something. Am in the middle of something. And I still say God is good. I still say God is faithful. You know why? Not because of encounter, not because of Easter, but because of discipleship. Christ is formed in me. I am the image of God standing before you. You know how humble it is for God to use me? Because I know me. And yet He still calls me and chooses me. You know the beautiful thing is? He does the same for you. Discipleship, man. I don't want a whole generation to not know the Lord or the things of the Lord. So let me give you 4 hows real quick. Number 1, write this down. How do you make disciples? Number 1, you be a disciple. Sounds easy, right? You got to be a disciple. You must give people permission to speak into your life. I pastor young adults, so that's my context. But here's the reality. Young adults will date people. They'll go jump in careers. They'll go to colleges, and they'll never ask a single person. They'll just make the decision on their own. That's what they do. I'm not saying all of them. That's broad brush, okay? So don't hear what I'm not saying. But how many of you married somebody, or you dated somebody, or you started a career, or you went to a college, and you just didn't ask anybody? You just thought that was a good idea for your life. Can I tell you something? In my life, I have a lot of good ideas for my life. They're not good ideas for my life. That's why I've had 2 fiancés in my life and not just 1. Don't make me unpack that either tonight. It's already 7:03. I got to wrap this thing up. But you know why? Because I didn't ask anybody. I didn't allow anybody to disciple me. I didn't allow anybody to speak into my life. Here's what you need to do tomorrow, next week, as soon as you can. You need to give someone permission to speak into your life. That's called discipleship. Let them form Christ in your marriage. Let them form Christ in your entrepreneurship. Let them form Christ as you're choosing a college. Let them form Christ as you're making decisions on who you're going to date. That's discipleship. Here's the crazy thing. We want personal trainers. We want our kids to have coaches. We get trained for jobs, but we don't want to be discipled for Jesus. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. We want all that other stuff, and yet, number 2, do life with people you can grow deep with. Listen, I can't do life with everybody, but I can do life with a few people. I can do life with a few people.
I got to choose people around me that I can grow deep with. No surface level. I have enough of those at Starbucks. Y'all know what I'm talking. Hey, how you doing? Doing good. Hey, doing good. You want the oat milk latte? Yeah, I want the oat milk latte. Okay, see you next week. Okay, cool. I don't want that. I want people to challenge me. By the way, I don't want people to just call me out. I want people to call the best in me too. Form Christ in me in all areas. Number 3, keep learning and keep doing the work of the ministry. Keep learning and keep doing the work of the ministry. Keep learning and keep doing the work of the ministry. It's why we have a university here at our church. You need to keep learning. You need to keep being educated in the things of God. Some of you need to take a New Testament class, an Old Testament class, a Christian apologetics class, an evangelism and discipleship class. That's why we have what we have. I didn't get a degree so I can put a paper on a wall. I got a degree so it can deepen my knowledge and my love and my fervor and the fear of the Lord in my life. Not so I can say, yeah, I graduated college. No, because I want to know God more. I want to love God more. I want to just meet Him, not just on the mountaintops. I want to meet Him in His Word. And how can I meet Him in His Word if I don't even understand it? That's why I went to school. Educate. Keep doing the work of the ministry. And the last thing is this: always, always bring it back to Jesus. Always. So even in this message right now, guess what I'm going to do at this moment? I'm always going to bring it back to Jesus. The reason why we do what we do every single weekend, every single Darling Conference, every single encounter, every single small group, every single men's breakfast, everything we do is always bringing it back to Jesus. Nothing is different in this moment. Where are you at? You're downtown right now. Where are you at in your relationship with Jesus? You're online right now. Where are you at in your relationship with Jesus? I tell you what, there's no better time than now. Right here, right now, to give your heart, to give your life, to give everything you have to Jesus, and watch what He can do. Come on, look at me in this screen. Watch what He can do in and through your life as you grow down in order to grow up. I want you to bow your heads and close your eyes at all of our campuses and online. Tonight, He's beckoning and He's calling you. The Bible says that it's His kindness that leads us to repentance. The Bible says that if you believe in your heart and confess with your lips that Jesus is Lord, then you will be saved. 2 nights ago, I was speaking on Thursday night at our young adults group, and I gave this invitation, and 5 people raised their hand to give their life to Christ. Can I tell you something tonight? Tonight is your night. Tonight is your night, right here, right now. Downtown, online, right here at South Hill. Tonight is your night. And I want to encourage you. There's no greater love that you will experience than the love of Jesus. He's here, He's with you, and He's for you. So tonight, here's what I want to do. I want to give you an invitation. I remember listening, as your eyes are closed, Billy Graham was speaking at the Tacoma Dome in 1983, the same year that it was born. It was one of the first events held at the Tacoma Dome. He didn't do close your eyes. He didn't do bow your heads. He didn't count to 3. All he did at the end of his message was said, if you want to receive Jesus, just come on down. 700-800 people walked down. When the Spirit of God is in the house, you don't need to do anything else but to give an invitation. So tonight, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, and you're at South Hill, downtown, you're online, you're saying, I want to give my life to Christ. Like, I want to really give my life to Christ. If that's you, when I count to 3, I just want you to slip your hand up. We're going to applaud, we're going to praise God, and we're going to celebrate the new life that you have. If that's you, lift your hand. 1, 2, 3 right now. Come on, if that's you, come on, lift your hand right here. Come on, lift your hand. Do I see anybody? Come on. Yeah, come on, anybody. Yeah, South Hill. Come on, downtown. Come on, downtown. Online. Come on, let's stand to our feet tonight. Come on, let's pray. Father, we love you. We thank you. We honor you. We thank you for new life. We thank you, God, for discipleship, Christ formation. Lord, renew our mind, transform our heart, do something brand new. God, we honor you. We say this is your house, and we are your people. So with a shout of praise and a shout of faith, come on, let's declare this song.